Welcome, dear friends, to the Quintillion Institute, where you can always expect words worthy of excitement. We've got quite a delightful word about words for you today. Ever aiming to impress, our tireless researchers have re-unearthed the ancient word chiasmus. It's a word that takes its name from an ancient letter, the Greek chi. Now, why would you name a word after a letter? Well, it's a short story with a phenomenal twist. You see, the letter chi is twisted. It takes two straight lines and twists them around each other into an X shape. And chiasmus is repetition with a twist. The repeated element reflects in reverse order what comes before it. So ABAB is not chiasmus, but ABBA is. The second half is a flipped repetition of the first. Now, when it comes to words, rather than having two phrases or clauses repeat their structures exactly, the second repetition is an inverted copy of the first, still following our ABBA pattern. You might have a regular old sentence like, I found a leaf under the tree, a worm under the rock. And then you could give it the chiastic treatment, turning it into, I found a leaf under the tree, under the rock, a worm. See that twist? In the first phrase, we get the object before where it was found, and in the second, the object comes after the place where it was found. The second part of the sentence is a mirror image of the first, so the structure crosses over itself, just like the lines in the letter chi. Of course, anytime you have an inverted pair of anything, you're dealing with chiasmus. So you could have a grammatical inversion, like our first example, that inverts the grammatical structure of the first and second pairs. I found a leaf under the tree, under the rock, a worm. You could have semantic inversion, where words with similar meanings get repeated in an inverted pattern. For example, Dora admired the cardinal, the bird disregarded the woman. In this case, the grammatical structure of both clauses is the same, but the words have a chiastic arrangement of their meaning. Dora to cardinal to bird to woman, A, B, B, A. Or you might play with some phonetic chiasmus, where sounds or stress patterns get the inverted repetition treatment, as in, the butter sizzled while the sausage is browned. B on the end and S in the middle. Chiasmus is a flexible tool because it works with any element of language. So long as you have repeated pairs in reversed order, you have chiasmus, and it doesn't matter if those repeated pairs are made up of the same grammatical structure, related words, or similar sounds. Of course, people with opinions about words also tend to cherish their pedantic distinctions, which frankly is alright with us because it just means more words about words for our amusement. And in the very special case where you have the exact same words being repeated in reversed order, you're not dealing with a case of chiasmus, but with an instance of antimetabole. For example, Dawn loves Sam, Sam loves Dawn. This features the exact repetition of paired words, not similar words. So the persnickety would label this antimetabole. But as with all words about words that are old enough to be in Greek, the difference between chiasmus and antimetabole is less meaningful in modern English. But we mention it so that you know about it if it ever comes up. Oh, and while we're on the topic of chiasmus, it's worth talking about what happens when the spirit of chiasmus is applied to larger sections of text. That is, strictly speaking, chiasmus just involves the inverted repetition of parts in a single sentence. But that same idea of inverted repetition can be applied on a much grander scale. In those cases, we're dealing with chiastic structures rather than strict chiasmus, but most people will call it chiasmus just the same. At any rate, these chiastic structures go beyond the simple ABBA pattern in a single sentence and expand it to something more like ABCDCBA, with no real limit to how long it can go on. These chiastic structures are also sometimes referred to as ring structures, and they operate on the same principles of inverted repetition as sentence-level chiasmus, just with a good deal more complexity like we see in this short story. Diana went to the store looking for snacks. She found a pile of apples and a block of cheese. Then she realized she didn't have enough money and would need to borrow some. A friendly old person offered to buy her snacks. Diana accepted so that she could afford the purchase. The apples and cheese were paid for, and Diana left the store laden with snacks. You can see the inverted repetition of ideas and objects at varying points in the story. The first sentence is reflected in the last, the second in the penultimate, the third in the antepenultimate, and so on. In this case, the sentence in the middle doesn't have a partner, something that causes it to stand out from the others and emphasizes its significance in the story. Which actually leads us into why you might want to use chiasmus or chiastic structures in the first place. Chiasmus is a flexible and interesting tool for writers, but you might be wondering why you would ever want to use it. And to that I'd say, isn't having fun enough of a reason? And it is, of course, but Chiasmus also has particular effects that can make it especially useful in certain cases. First, because it involves repetition, Chiasmus is good for weighing two ideas against each other, and because that repetition is inverted, it's especially good at making strong contrasts between two ideas. When you set up two ideas in Chiasmus, the structural inversion reinforces their differences. Second, Chiasmus tends to pull emphasis towards the middle. Because inversion puts two repeated terms right next to each other in the middle, they amplify each other and call more attention to themselves than the elements at the beginning and end that are farther apart. When we're dealing with larger chiastic structures, it's especially true that the parts of a text that show up in the middle are meant to be the most significant. All the other elements point towards the middle and radiate outwards from it, emphasizing whatever sits in that central position. And while there are plenty of modern examples of chiasmus, it's especially characteristic of ancient writings, perhaps because it was useful as a memory tool in oral cultures. So you'll see chiasmus show up in all kinds of ancient texts from all kinds of places, whether that's scripture, epic poetry, or more. Which is to say, really, that you could add a decidedly ancient flavor to a text with just a dash of chiasmus. But really, chiasmus is just a tool that can do any number of impressive things in creative hands, and I'm eager to see what you can come up with, so please share your best chiasmi in the comments. And on behalf of all of us here at the Quintillion Institute, if we've done anything today worthy of your subscription or approval, we hope you'll like and subscribe. Our research teams are dedicated to their craft, but they also appreciate unmitigated praise just as much as anyone else, I suppose. At any rate, this is where we'll part ways for now. Till next time, best wishes for your well-being. No, if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. Antimetabole does not help people to lose weight.